Today we want to talk about the reason why Kenyan innovations and inventions usually don't take off. Why, when you go into a supermarket, you don't see a section of made in Kenya innovations. Because in foreign countries, in some foreign countries, they have a section in the supermarket that is called as seen on TV. Now what that means is someone invents something and then they manufacture that something and then they take it to the supermarket or into the market, and they have a special section in that supermarket where you can buy that item that has been invented by someone that is being advertised on TV. Like, there's a whole ecosystem for innovations and inventions in the countries that have a lot of inventions. A whole ecosystem. They even have TV stations that feature nothing but quote-unquote local inventions. And so in Kenya, we don't have this. We do have inventors, we do have people who innovate, we do have people who come up with all sorts of amazing ideas. And they are featured in the news for like 2 minutes, you know, as an afterthought, and then it's forgotten about. And usually the way they feature such people on the TV and in the news, they have this mocking tone. It's like they're mocking them. You know, it's not put under the category of serious news. It's put under the category of, I don't know, entertainment, almost comedy. And so that is the general attitude that the people of Kenya have towards inventors in Kenya. And this attitude goes all the way to the top, all the way to the top levels of government and the elite. Now, we do have financial elites. We do have people who have tremendous, wealth. And one of the things that they don't do with that wealth is to assist local people who are coming up with innovations and inventions. We don't see that. Like, I'm sure you've seen this show called the Shark Tank, whereby ordinary people come up with an idea and they go to a panel of rich people and they pitch their idea in the hope of getting finance so that they can expand or start to produce commercially their idea. Now, we don't have the equivalent of that in Kenya as such, because the rich people in Kenya hold the poorer people with tremendous contempt, because Kenya is a very classist society. And so the innovators are usually tend to be people who are starved of capital, ordinary people who are not wealthy. We don't see the rich people inventing or innovating anything, because they have a very marked preference for what is foreign. So they would never come up with anything. They would never invent anything. It is only unrich people or non-rich people who invent things. And so we don't have a Shark Tank, as it were, in Kenya, where these ordinary Kenyans can go and pitch their ideas to get capital from the very wealthy. That doesn't exist, because, like we said, the rich people in Kenya hold the poor people with tremendous contempt. They don't mix with them, they don't mingle with them. They take their kids to European-only schools. Like, they do everything to act as foreign as possible towards the local population. And so we don't get those benefits of bringing those with capital together with those with the ideas, so that we can create our own brands and our own commercially viable innovations. So over the years, the innovators in Kenya are still struggling to innovate. And so we with the introduction of digital products, software and things of that nature, now we have a new class of innovators, people who are coming up with, local solutions to local problems using digital products. And they're increasing in number, and they really need the funding. And there's no local mechanism to fund them. So into this funding gap, we have now foreigners stepping in. Now, the foreigners stepping in, they are stepping in deliberately with a particular agenda. It is not random. But on the outside, they come declaring that they want to help Africans develop products. That's how they come. And because the innovators are really desperate for capital, you'll take money from whoever is offering the money, regardless of what agenda they have, as long as you're getting to fulfill your goals, which we understand. So in Kenya right now, we have venture capital companies. We have many of them. And our particular concern in this issue is the fact that majority of these venture capital firms or companies are foreign owned. As in all other sectors of the economy, the venture capital market is totally dominated by foreigners. So the Kenyans are at the bottom and the foreigners are at the top. And I don't know if they remember that story whereby some of our local innovators were complaining and they were reporting that the venture capital firms, the companies, tend to promote ideas by their fellow foreigners. So what happened in this particular story, the guy said that he started an idea, it was a good idea, and then a Mzungu showed up to help him. So they pulled their resources together. He was the idea man and the Mzungu was supposed to pull in the funding. Okay, that's good, right? So when they finally got a venture firm to support them, they immediately replaced him from being on top of the organization and put the Mzungu on top of him, despite the fact that he is the guy who had the idea. And in this way, they took away the idea from him. And then they fired him from his own idea. It became a Mzungu idea. And we also saw the same process with Safaricom M-Pesa. There's always a controversy. Who invented M-Pesa? Who came up with that idea? Now, many people believe that it was a Kenyan who came up with that idea. But he came up with that idea under the control of Vodafone. Because Vodafone owns M-Pesa. It is Vodafone, which is a British company that makes money from M-Pesa. So you can see when you're working under foreign domination, when you're working with foreign capital, you lose the idea. They take the idea and they run with it and they make billions from it. And they get all the credit, from it. And you as the local innovator, you're pushed to the side and you never become rich and you never become famous and you don't get proper credit for your idea. We see this over and over again. Now, in the case of these venture capital companies in Kenya, all of them, the top largest of them, are owned and controlled by Americans, Europeans, and increasingly the Chinese. So why are they so interested in funding African ideas? Because we know they don't like us. So that's clear. So why are they showing up saying that they will save us from this funding gap? What's their game plan? Their game plan is always the same. It's systematic domination of our economies. It's very simple. They want to keep control over every sector of the economy, and they control every sector of the economy. For example, in Kenya, if you buy beer, it's a British company. If you buy medication, it's mostly likely a British company or an American company. If you buy cigarettes, it's an American company. If you buy bathing soap, it's a British company. If you buy oil, it's a British and an American company. If you buy cement, a British company or an Indian company. Every sector of the economy is controlled by them. Now, also, so this the innovators is a growth sector. It's a sector that is bringing in potentially new business opportunities and new companies. So if they can take over the company or the idea in its infancy, they will always dominate that idea. And like we said, in the case of the invention of M-Pesa, you can see it's still a British company, even though the innovation is nominally Kenyan. But it's the British that are making money from that innovation. It's not necessarily Kenyans, you know. The other thing they're interested in deeply is control over ideas. They want to control our creativity, because it's very well known that Africans are very creative. Wherever you find them in the world, they're very creative. But usually, the parasite that is benefiting from that creativity is never an African. For example, when you look at the rise of American black music, American black music is controlled by non-black Americans. Every music company is owned by the Mzungu. So when the American blacks sing and their songs become famous throughout the world, it's the Mzungu who's making the money. It's not them. So they control that. And the black Americans willfully give up that control. In the same thing we see in Kenya, they want that creativity, so that when you innovate something, they reap the benefits from it. And of course, Kenyans, like the black Americans, willfully give up control. And we see the implications of this. We see the implications of Western companies coming into Africa, going into rural areas and pretending to study local medicines. And what they're doing is to study what leaf do you use to cure this problem, to deal with this problem. And they take that knowledge, they patent that knowledge, and they begin to produce medications, and they reap billions. And the villagers, where they got that idea from, don't benefit a bit. So this is called, basically, it's intellectual colonialism or intellectual theft. It's your ideas being exploited by someone else for their benefit. And because Africans always behave that way, they show all their ideas, give up all their secrets to all these foreigners, who then go out there and duplicate what you are trying to do, and then they sell it. Just the same way the Chinese are selling African clothes, African drums, African masks, African paintings, African arts and crafts. They came to Maasai Market, they saw what you people were doing, they went and they duplicated, and now they are selling to third countries. So it's the same thing. So they prey on Africans, because it's very easy to exploit Africans. Well, Africans are very naive. And so these companies, or these venture capital firms, they are taking over these ideas in their infancy. So they're draining the idea from the innovators, and then they go to third countries and replicate, patent, and then sell. So you, the innovator, right here in Kenya, you never reap the true rewards of your innovation, because you gave up the idea and someone else ran with it, and now they're making billions. The other reason why they're pouring money into this sector of innovation is to steer the innovations, because whatever they fund is what grows. So if they're funding, for example, if they're funding particular digital products, then you'll see more and more people innovating in the sector that they believe they will easily get funding. So they'll avoid other sectors that they are finding that it's difficult to get funding. And when you look at what is being funded from these creativity labs that we have in Kenya, it's always in a particular direction. And you'll see they don't like anything that has to do with hardcore manufacturing. So if you're an inventor of something that is actually, how do I put this? Something that has to be manufactured, hardware, you'll find very little interest from them in funding you, because they are not trying to encourage manufacturing in Kenya. What they're trying to encourage is services, service products. That's what they want. Okay? They want things that spy on the population. For example, they will fund a digital product that monitors malaria patients. How much in drugs did they get? When did they get the drugs? Are they skipping their medications? They want things like that. Things that monitor your movement, what you're eating, things that can be considered to be almost spy software. They want solutions for rural areas and hard to reach areas. That's what I can see that's where they're steering the funding towards. And the other reason to steer the funding away from manufacturing is because manufacturing would disrupt the economic model that they have chosen for third world countries like Kenya. And the economic model chosen is you can do anything except manufacture. You don't manufacture anything. That's the policy. The policy is deindustrialization. And so they will fund anything to do with delivery services, things which don't threaten the economic structure that exists currently. So they are steering the innovators to move away from trying to make things like cars. The guy that was trying to make cars in Kenya can never get funding. The other gentleman who was trying to make an air taxi, a huge drone that can carry people, can never get funding. But if you come up with an app to deliver food, you will get funding. Things that will not necessarily expand the economy is what they will fund. But if you invent something that is a material, you invent a new type of, battery, or you come up with a cheaper way to manufacture a cell phone that you want to start a small production plant in your village, you will never get funding for things like that. So that's part of the reason why they're really flooding into places like Kenya in order to manage the innovations and to steer the innovations away from anything that can threaten the current economic structure. Think about it. You mean to tell me no one has innovated how to make a gun in Kenya? Because a gun is a very simple thing to make. And it's technically very simple. You mean to tell me there is no innovators within the military security sector? Of course there are. So where's the production plant? They can never get funding. But you'll find all sorts of useless apps being funded. Things that are juvenile. But nothing serious, nothing mature. So their role, and a lot of these funds, you should know they are controlled by their military intelligence people. These are not just innocent funds. These are, it's a question of global domination. So they have to steer you away from serious things. Away from, you're not allowed to make things like guns, things like missiles, serious stuff. No, you can come up with your own taxi app. They'll even give you a global award for innovation for useless things that are not transformative in the economy or in the country. So they are trying to manage our innovators and inventors. And of course, the government allows this because that's the policy. We are ruled from outside the country. There's something else that is emerging with these venture capital companies in Kenya. And they're beginning to bring in, what we call cultural colonialism. And this is how it works. They're beginning to push these up and coming small companies in Kenya that in exchange for you to get the funding, you must promote homosexuality. But the language they use is quote unquote diversity and inclusion. That's the language they use. So that if you want this money, promote homosexuality. Make sure that in your board of directors, you have a homosexual. Go look for a homosexual anywhere. Find one, put him in there, and we will give you money. So they are trying to promote that, the effective effeminization of the African man. Take the money, push the agenda. Take the money, make sure you become a Freemason. So increasingly, we are beginning to see them infiltrate all sectors of our country. So that if you hold African values dear, you better forget about gaining any money. These are the dangers when you allow foreigners total free reign in your country. So that even the capital markets are controlled by them. Who gets funding for what are controlled by them. So how do you run a country like that? How do you run a country like that? What kind of men are in charge of such a country? Whereby a foreigner is in control over every single sector of your economy. It is their decisions that count in what you'll do. And of course, no one says anything. No one ever questions why all the venture capital companies in Kenya are foreign money. So at whose feet do we lay blame? We have to lay blame on our coconut elite. And I'm not talking about the political elite, because there are many elites. I'm talking about the cultural elite and the financial elite, because they despise Kenyans and they will never ever support a Kenyan idea. And ultimately, that is the problem. The fact that the rich people of Kenya cannot come together and create a venture capital company and fund it so that people have an alternative. But to do that, you need a vision. And of course, the elite of Kenya doesn't have any vision, because they don't see themselves as Kenyans. They see themselves fundamentally as white people who just happen to be inside an African body. And so they have no vision for Kenya at all. They would rather take a trip to, France or London and buy clothes there than support and partner with a local designer. So they would never promote anything in Kenya. So ultimately, what is killing us is our elite. That is the problem. Until we eliminate this elite, we'll be destroyed forever. Just to illustrate how bad things are, the African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association is based in London. That's how ridiculous this situation is. Just think, it's based in London. It's not even based in Africa. So this is how the elite see themselves. They fundamentally don't see themselves as Africans. They see themselves as Mzungu on the inside. And they will usually not support any idea until a foreigner comes on board. So if you're a small startup and you're trying to get venture and you're sending your application to London, okay? See the problem. When they look at your application and they see that in your board of directors, it's just you Africans, you better forget about getting money. So, but if you take a Mzungu and put him in your board, then at that point, they can consider your application. And so we don't have any Kenyan-owned corporate brands. Just think, do you have any Kenyan global corporate brand? We don't. Not one, nothing. We produce no corporations. And a country that doesn't have any corporation or large company never becomes rich. I don't care what you do. You will never become rich until the day you have like 20 corporations in 20 different industries that have spread all over the world. At that point, you'll become rich. So some time back, the government came up with a finance bill that was supposed to manage these venture capital companies by the CMA. But as you very well know, it was sabotage. They watered it down so much. They were so ambiguous in their language that you could tell that the government doesn't want to stop the foreigners from totally dominating that sector. And so even, I think until today, as we speak right now, there is no oversight over these venture capital companies. No one is investigating exactly what are they funding and why, and is it in the national security interest to have them controlling stock of all startups in Kenya. So today, in the venture capital market, over 86% is controlled by venture capital that is foreign to Kenya. And almost every startup, every idea that Kenyans come up with that is financed by these venture capital companies, they lose their patent rights to the foreigners. So we appeal to the local rich people. Create your own hedge funds, create your own venture capital companies, and finance some of the brilliant innovators that we have in Kenya. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Kenya's time has come. Our time has come. Your time has come. A time to succeed and not fail. A time to grow wealth and not poverty. A time to go up and not down. It's time for you to stop walking and drive your car. Stop renting and buy yourself a house. It's your time to get blessed. Join the ChaChaVi movement and together let us kick poverty and unemployment out of Kenya. Become a member today. Donate what you can. And remember that the ChaChaVi is the only political organization in Kenya that is squarely built upon Christian values, unlike the rest. We'll see you next time. Thank you.